How's it going, everyone? Jett and Alex back with another episode of Project Rookie, but this time we're gonna try something new. We are on episode 11, and that means we have 10 episodes under our belt. And we're gonna try something new that we're calling the Rookie Recap, and maybe we'll do a
Ooh.
little vote on social media if that name sucks. But
I don't think it's too
basically,
bad.
I think it's a good name.
Yeah, definitely.
Basically, what the rookie recap is going to be is every 10 or so episodes, we're going to kind of highlight and grab our favorite takeaways or learnings or main ideas from the previous 10 episodes that we released and give kind of a preview and summary of all the things that we learned and talked about in those episodes. So it'll probably be just a quick preview since we got 10 episodes to go through. But if any of them pique your interest or you missed one of those episodes, this is a good place to kind of figure out if it's something you want to go back and listen to. So how does that sound, Alex? Welcome to Project Rookie. I'm Jett.
And I'm Alex. Whether you're in high school, college, or taking the first steps in a new career,
we are here to uncover the promising tactics, genuine struggles, and inspiring victories that are supercharging the next generation of achievers. Thanks for tuning in.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual speakers and do not reflect the official policies or positions of their respective employers. Individuals on this podcast are not licensed financial or investment advisors, and its contents should not be used as investment advice.
I'm excited. Let's get into it. We've been at this for a little bit now, so let's kind of touch back on what we've talked about. And maybe for some of the newer listeners, if this is your first episode, it may be the little guide so you can pick and choose your next episode of the Project Rookie series that you'd like to check out. But yeah, so you want to start? Let's go with let's touch back on our first episode. So we kind of just new to this. We just released towards the end of 2013.
Yeah.
2023. Oh yeah, 2023. Yeah, you're right. But first impressions. So let's kind of touch back on that one. That was a fun episode.
Yeah, that was honestly still one of my favorite episodes because it was just the first one. And wow, there are so many things that we learned and changed since that episode. But I guess that one of my main takeaways from our first impression episode is that first impressions happen super fast. So there's something that require pre-thought, like how am I going to make sure that I make a good first impression? You have to think about that before you're actually in the situation where you're making that impression or at that meeting where, you know, the stakes maybe are a little bit higher. So taking that time to think about what your first impression is going to look like and understand ways to make a good first impression is something valuable to do beforehand, because you don't have much time to think about it when you're actually in that situation where you need to be making a good first impression. And sometimes you need to make an impression at a time where you didn't even think you'd be meeting somebody.
Definitely. I think that kind of coincides with one of my favorite sayings is it's better to be proactive than reactive. And you can kind of relate that to being proactive in the sense of maybe taking a little extra time to get your appearance together, what you might want to say when you first meet this person, your handshake, your shoes, whatever that may be, all the way to in that actual moment when you're reacting to how that kind of situation is unfolding. I think that's a great takeaway and something for the listeners to really look out for in their own lives and in the episode if they go back and listen to it. But I think another one would be establishing trust between the person or the room that you're talking to, and giving kind of really establishing this first impression. It's important to be put together and thoughtful of your appearance and things like that. Facial hair is pretty in. Tattoos are pretty normal now within the workplace, but it still is a good idea to be conscious and aware that sometimes that may not always suit the style of business that organization's trying to uphold. And there's no problem with that, but that may be a sign that that's a company you may not want to work for. But at the same time, it might have been in play for a while, and sometimes those things are hard to be around, but it's important to be assertive at the same time, and kind of stand your point with some of those things. And if that's something that's really important to you, or it's really kind of a staple to who you are, it is important at the same time to still get that point across and let that expression go.
Yeah. I definitely feel that because I have earrings. For those of you who have never seen me in person and are just listening to the audio, I used to be super nervous about having them, but I realized that like the way I look at first impressions, just look like you tried and put effort into how you look and you're clean. And I think that a good summary word is like polished. Like,
Yes.
even if you have a sleeve of tattoos, if you have an outfit that matches, clean hair, clean face, do you smell good? All those things, you're polished. You're like put together. Okay,
Yes.
he knows exactly how he looks. He didn't walk out of the house not knowing what color shirt he has on today, and he put effort into like this appearance.
Yeah, definitely. Just being aware of the situation that you're going to be in. That's the most important. It shows a little bit of an extra step and care too, if for the person that you're talking to, and they may realize that as well. And it may be kind of the thing that sets you apart from another.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that first impressions are not like the end all be all, but the reason that they're so important is that they're the foundation of your relationship with that person. So they can either start you off at a really good point, or they can start you off at a point where you have to put a lot more effort in later to rebuilding back up or recovering from the bad first impression. So you can start ahead with a good first impression, or you can set yourself up to need to put extra work into that relationship later.
Yeah, definitely. And I think going off of that, we can kind of transition into the next one, which was the second episode being LinkedIn. And
episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2, LinkedIn. And that would be kind of how it's just a free networking tool that for those who are in high school, for those in college, and even in a professional setting overall, it's just becoming one of those essential pieces of your professional toolbox, as they'd say, that kind of allows you to set that digital first impression parallel to this physical first impression, in-person first impression that we talked to mainly in the first episode. So yeah, LinkedIn, it's a great tool, and it's available for those whether you want to get premium or not. It still allows you to make those connections and help you get your career hopefully to the next level.
Yeah. And having that online spot that is let's say online professional presence is just another place where you can be found by recruiters, another place where you can be found by professionals with the same interests. And if you make a good impression with your online, like your LinkedIn profile, it can lead to opportunities in the future. So it's a good idea to get started early, because then you can kind of familiarize yourself with LinkedIn and how it works and start building up kind of this, let's say, I don't know, list or area where you have all these professional contacts. And then you can start collaborating with them when the time comes where that collaboration is necessary, instead of feeling like you're super behind and have no idea that all of these people are kind of talking about their professional lives on this online platform.
Yeah, you took the point. You said some of the point already.
Took the words out of your mouth.
Yeah, basically it's an important way, and it almost is that in a growing digital age, when you're not necessarily having a physical contact book or anything like that, but it allows you to still get that instant communication between those connections and still allow you to maintain contact in a little bit of a faster, more personal way without actually having their personal line of communication. And you wouldn't have to then go through a secretary or go through a work email or such like that. So I think it is becoming one of those things that's a growing necessity in the work world going forward. And it just allows you, as you were saying, to maintain and keep those connections going forward.
Yeah. And it's not just some like magical recruiter out there that you're building this LinkedIn profile for. Like, I personally got found and recruited from my LinkedIn profile and was able to get a job opportunity in like September of my senior year. So I think that even if you not everybody is going to get the job on LinkedIn, or like have a recruiter find you and call you and be like, hey, I want you to work for us. But having that, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, that's 100% not going to happen to you. So having these different ways of, let's say, creating your own luck is just important. And LinkedIn is like one of the ways you can do that from a really young age.
Exactly. You can't, nothing can come of it unless you allow it to happen. So if you're not even
Exactly.
on the platform, then you'll never make a connection on LinkedIn because it's not possible. So
Totally.
all right. Well, getting noticed, episode 3. Let's talk about
Episode
that.
3. I love this one. I like all of our episodes, to be honest.
Me
but
too. How can you not?
I put extra effort into this one. Not extra effort into the episode, but like in my daily life and at work, I put extra effort into making sure that the work that I'm doing is in front of the right people. Like no matter what it is, you want your boss or your boss's boss to know what you're up to. And this is not like know when you go to the bathroom and know like when you wrote something down on a piece of paper. This is like understand the projects you're working on. And if you do really good work, if nobody knows you're doing good work, or you don't like kind of force them to know that you're doing good work, then you're not going to be top of mind for next opportunities. So I think it's like important to me, at least, and probably a lot of other, people early in their career, to make sure that the work they're doing is noticed by the right people.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And it kind of goes off of that opportunity that we were just talking about. And if you set yourself up and you're doing a little bit extra, you really you allow yourself the opportunity for those people higher up to actually notice the work you're getting done. Other than that,
Exactly.
you're just doing the same job that someone else was doing before you. So you can't be noticed unless you're standing out and doing something different. But
Yep.
I think that kind of also goes with doing some of the things that are outside of your job description itself, doing a little bit extra, not necessarily going out of your way. And I mean, I'm going to use this loosely, inconvenience yourself and inhibit yourself from getting your normal job done. But it is beneficial to yourself and to those around you if you can do a little bit more than you're asked. And it shows that extra bit of initiative and drive and just overall commitment that you want to be there and you want to do well and get more done. And that is really a great way to get noticed by people around you and those above you, for sure.
Yep. Another tip from that episode is like communicating with your, like when you're showing or putting your work in front of your boss and your boss's boss, understanding how to communicate what you're doing in kind of like a very clear and concise and short way, because their time is valuable, like to them. You might not think it's that valuable, but as you go up the food chain, your time becomes like more and more squeezed. So when you're trying to get your work in front of these higher ups, if you take like a really long time to explain what you're doing, or like beat around the bush, or don't get to the point, they're going to zone out. And what you're saying is like no longer going to matter. And you might actually get noticed in a negative way. So like thinking out what you're going to say and like, what is the real main idea here? What do I want them to remember? And maybe just saying that. And it was like, hey, I did this. I think it helps do X, Y, and Z for the company. Just wanted you to see it. Like, goodbye. That's it. Like something short, sweet. Like, I respect your time, but hey, check this out. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Definitely be sharp and responsive. Respond to emails. If you got nothing going on and somebody emails you, there's no point in having it sit for another hour, 2 hours, when you can just get it done. It's probably only a 30-second reply or something like that, or send them a file or whatnot. And with that too, show up early, be on time. I know everybody kind of has a different perception of what is on time, what is early. I use a general rule of thumb. Show up like 30 minutes before if it's something important, like very important, but at the very minimum, give yourself 10, 15 minutes beforehand, just so you're not showing up at the last stroke of the hour and you then have to still set up. And then at that, like you were saying, as you get higher up in these meetings and such, everybody's time is a little bit more valuable. Everybody's time is a little bit more limited. So that little extra attention to detail can kind of go a long way in making sure that you're really making a good first impression. You're getting noticed by those who should notice you. So
exactly. Yeah, I want to double down on that, like responding to emails thing. we're not saying, and in this episode we talk about it a little more, but we're not saying sit on your computer and wait for emails all day after hours. I'm saying the same way you respond to your friend's text, like take the 30 seconds and respond to your boss like right away when they send an email. They'll notice that. And even if it's like, got this, I'll work on it tomorrow morning, that's it. Like at least the response went through and your name popped up like instantly after they sent an email.
Yeah.
So like don't wait around all day and waste your time, like, or don't spend an hour doing whatever they asked you to do in that email after work, but respond.
Yeah.
If you can, like if you're on your phone and it takes a second, respond.
I kind of want to I don't even think this was really mentioned in the episode, but this is why I want to throw it in here. But having like your tag or your signature on an email, I think that's like a pretty, I don't think it's like make or break, but I think that is one of those little things, and that attention to detail that I kind of mentioned before that can kind of set the tone and make a little bit go a longer way for you. And plus, if you have certifications and you have other titles, why not share those at all times? You can put your name, project management professional, cybersecurity professional, whatever it is after that, and it kind of adds a little bit more weight to what you're having to say too at the same time. So show off all those little things and certifications that you work so hard to get. If you thought it was important, there's probably somebody else out there who thinks of it as equally important. So why not?
100%. And now that we're on the tangent, I'm going to double down on it. I think that one place like where that email, I know like a lot of employers now will say like, here's what your email signature should look like at your job. But when you're in college, nobody says like put a signature in your email.
Yes.
This is a really good time to put a signature in your email. Like when you're a student and you're emailing a professor, or you're emailing employers, or you're emailing anyone external to the college, like that gives them extra context about you that they don't have to ask. Like, for example, I always put my student ID in my email signature because like half the time when I was emailing professors that didn't know you by name yet, like they can just pop in your email signature and they have that. And that's just like a convenience thing for them that they notice. So like if you can make like, it's so tiny, but at the same time, they're going to notice it because it made their life easier. They didn't have to go back and forth and be like, what's this? What's that? Like your year, your student ID, and your majors maybe, or like, yeah, like anything interesting that, and look up examples. Cause obviously you don't put everything in your email signature, but yeah,
just put your social security, birthday, all those things.
Alex,
in there.
you're going to get us in trouble.
Send them new Project Rookie.
Yeah,
no,
exactly. Put our podcast link in your email signature, and that'll be your little. That's your payment for us doing this for free, I think. All right, next episode this is Project Rookie. So if you're wondering like, why are Jett and Alex here doing this? What's the deal? Why are they spending their time sharing their experiences and having guests on and things like that? We unpack that in episode 4. But also we'll probably continue to do episodes like that for the newer listeners. But we're going to give you a quick little summary of like why we're here and our thoughts. So like, in my words, I think that we're here to fill the need of more like real time and relatable early, like high school, college, early career experiences and like career prep stuff, and how to make the most of high school and college, just like how we thought we spent our time, how we think that our guests stories on how they spent their time and what they thought was valuable. So you can really take advantage of like high school and college and be ready for whatever career you want to go to by the time you're ready to graduate college. Or if you're not going to graduate college, that's why we touch on high school too. And like one of the main ideas is like, you have so much time. We have so much time when we're in high school and college that we don't realize can be used for like such valuable things that instantly when you graduate college, you're going to be like, oh, I wish I did this. Like, that's why everyone right out of college has something like that. Like, oh, I wish I spent more time reading. All of those questions we're going to try and answer and get those answers in front of you. And some of the questions you won't even know you had, but when you hear them, you'll be like, oh, right, I should start doing that, or that works for me, or maybe even, yeah, that doesn't work for me, but cool. And all of those reactions are what we think about when thinking about you guys listening.
Yeah, and I think it also kind of goes to serve as our own little account of things that we are trying to pursue and do, and share our own struggles and experiences with those at home, because as we're trying to do with the people that we have on the show itself and their experiences, everybody has something to share, whether it be the two people talking to you right now, the co-hosts of Project Rookie, or your professor, or a mentor that you have. Everybody has some sort of information that they may come across, and we are trying to ultimately just foster a centralized place where that information can be shared, because as Jett and I kind of touched upon in that episode, our own friendship, our own business progressions kind of came just from having similar interests and being like-minded, and just the right moment, right time, and the right people kind of put us together. And now we have a show together, and we're already on episode 11, and it's been a great thing. So we really thought that through this platform and this medium, that we could kind of hopefully recreate that same experience for those who may not have someone that they run into at a party, or that they run into in one of their classes. The internet is a way that in a real time, in an instant, or in less of the time that you can even think of it, you can share information and connect with people all the way across the globe, or in 4 states over. So I think that's really the cool part about the show, and what we hope that this can kind of turn into, and hopefully the opportunities that could come from it for those who are listening.
Yeah. And I almost forgot. I think there's 2 parts to Project Rookie. There's like the school academic career prep side, and then there's like Alex and I are kind of like little entrepreneurs. Like we eventually want to do something entrepreneurial, or have our own business, whether that's with a day job or without it. We like our own projects. We like business. We like kind of building something in a way to make money. So you'll get a splash of that from Alex and I, and like our own experiences, and then the experiences of other young entrepreneurs, and also the experiences of college students, high school students, and people in their first like 1, 2, 3 years into their career. But another like main idea is like, maybe this is like personal, but Alex and I are like, what is another 23-year-old that really wants to build something or grow something or be real successful doing right now? I can't really find that much on Google. So let's go find them and bring them on the show, and then give everyone access to this type of information. So like, we really want to know, but we think that you guys want to know too. So that's kind of, I'm going to wrap up that point with that.
I think, that was a little long-winded, but I mean, we're both pretty passionate about the show, and we could probably go on and talking about it. So we'll spare everyone. And if you want to hear more, episode 4, this is Project Rookie.
Yes.
So next, this is where things got interesting, I feel like, because at first it was just us talking kind of like in this way, but episode 5, networking, and we brought on Eddie Makar. I met him through you. I thought he was awesome. He was a great person. And it was interesting too, because we didn't necessarily have the visual component, the video component to this, but this episode was actually recorded. Eddie came over to my house actually, so I think that was kind of a little bit more notable for me, being that I got to meet him in person from some of the other guests. But from that though, one of the things he talked on, and I've been trying to incorporate this more into my own day-to-day, was the importance of reading. And a quote from him was, "Why would you spend all this time learning about something when a seasoned expert put 20 years of experience into a book?" And that kind of really stuck with me, because if you reflect on in academia, you're reading a book on somebody else's thoughts from a long time ago, and then trying to put that own knowledge and understanding into your own work and into your own life. So why not just reflect on the literature that is there, and why say, oh, what I know more than a book? Like, this is the tried and true method. It's stuck around for a while. So I think that was really great, buckling down on the old ways still work. It's not necessarily as a Google search is going to be the answer to your question. You might have to go digging through the pages a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm going to actually throw in this curveball that we didn't talk about in the episode, but another cool thing about books, and I hated reading. So it's super weird for me to talk about liking reading because I do now, but this is like a new thing. Okay. So I wasn't like a reader. I hated it. Horrible reading score on my ACT, blah, blah, blah. But the thing about writing is in order to, I don't know what CEO says this. I think it's Jeff Bezos. That's like, write down, like, give me a memo, like a full page memo on XYZ topics for this meeting, or maybe 2 pages or something like that, like the problem and your proposed solutions. And the reason he does that is because when you have to write something down, the way you think through it is totally different than when you're just talking about it. So like when you get in the meeting and you like talk about the problem, if you've written it down and like made structured paragraphs explaining exactly what's happening, the thought process is totally different. And that's what happens in books. So like in a book, someone has reflected on 10, 15, 20 years of their experience in a certain industry or on a certain problem and meticulously thought through the best way to communicate that. And like in reflection have probably they probably learned more about themselves like writing the book, and you just get that much extra value by reading a book like that. So I think that's my little plug for reading. But that's one of the reasons I appreciate reading now, is because like it takes so much extra thought and carefulness to like write down and fully articulate a problem, a solution, a topic, than it does to just like speak about it.
And I think part of the beauty too of it is the parallel that everybody will interpret the reading differently too. So what I get from it and what you may get from it may be the same, but at the same point could be polar opposites. And I think that's the cool part, is it just really lets your own thoughts and imagination kind of go wild and get creative. And that's really important, because you kind of have your best ideas and thoughts when your brain is kind of in that creative mindset.
Yeah. Aside from reading though, it's funny, like Eddie is super passionate about reading now. So it sounds funny that we just talked about that with the networking episode, but like that's something that Eddie does a ton and really well. But another like back to networking, like one way that Eddie looked at networking and kind of going to these industry events and meeting professionals in the industry was that like if you were nervous to meet somebody new, you can look at it like you're beating yourself, like you're winning over your own mind, like you're beating your mind. So like if you're like, oh, I'm nervous to talk, like I'm gonna beat myself today and like go meet them anyways. Like it's like conquering your fears in a cliche way of saying it, but you can kind of use it as like a little competition with your own thoughts.
Yeah, and I think with that, with going on beating yourself, you can kind of help push yourself to that point by understanding really the value of the relationships you are making. Those are kind of your best assets in a sense. They allow you to, as I was saying before, get a direct line of communication with someone where another person may have to pay hundreds of dollars for. You know, if you get on a first name basis with one of these very successful entrepreneurs, and insert whatever name you think of right away, and kind of get that little personal touch and are able to talk to them, that's something people would do anything for. And you then have the opportunity to just call them up and say, hey, blah, 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 like, what are you doing? Or if you are at a same gym or sporting event or whatever with them, that personal time is kind of really valuable. So really understanding the value of relationships and how they really keeping them lasting is just as important as getting them started too, because you never know when it'll either work to your favor or work against you if you didn't maintain it.
You definitely got to maintain the relationships you meet at, or the relationships you create at networking events and like when you're meeting people. And really this is like majority focus on networking while you're in college, because one of the things that you have when you're a student, where I call it student privilege.
Yes.
So it means that like you have the privilege of like many business professionals not seeing you as risk, not seeing you as just wanting dollar signs out of them. They see you as like someone who wants to learn automatically. And so many people love teaching or sharing their experience or like helping the next generation get to the next step faster than they did. So when you're a student, it's like 10 times cooler and 10 times easier to meet these people and have conversations. So you just have to put yourself in a situation where you can have those conversations. And once you get there, people will just unload knowledge onto you. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, student privilege. Use it while you have it.
Use it or lose it.
Yeah, use it or lose it. Because
you will lose it.
Yes, whether that comes with your streaming service subscriptions or your ability to attend some of these network events as a student, at some point or another, once you are no longer in a graduate school, high school, undergraduate, whatever, you are not deemed the same as that. So sometimes those doors do close. So if you are in an opportunity to use it or lose it.
Yeah, not to say that the doors like close to networking, but they close to the ease.
Yes.
Like the easiness goes away. It's a completely different type of networking when you all have jobs and you're meeting with other people that are in sales or like trying to sell you something or trying to get information out of you about your company. Like everyone just sees more risk in networking and what they can and can't say in the real world than with students. What's up, everyone? Jett and Alex here, and we just wanted to take a moment to say we started Project Rookie because we know that choosing a career or pursuing an entrepreneurial idea can be hard.
We hope that through this podcast, we can create exposure to opportunities, inspire your inner entrepreneur, and create a community for young and hungry achievers just like you. Make sure to follow our podcast on your favorite listening platform or on Instagram and X at Project X Rookie. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show. All right. So from 5, we go to 6.
Episode 6
would be, we focus on group work, and then we also touched on dealing with difficult people. I think this was kind of an interesting topic in itself because we touched on how you shouldn't always choose your friends when you're working in a group. And I think that kind of would more so, it can relate into a business, a professional sense, but I think that's more so for some of the high school and college listeners that we have. And that kind of goes with, if you kind of surround yourself with those people that you're always working with on a day-to-day basis and have similar ideas, it kind of creates yourself, surrounds you with an echo chamber of that similar thought and work kind of being done. But if you allow yourself to be open to new ideas and to work with new people and kind of see what really is out there in the world, because there are a lot of other smart individuals than your friends. And when we're looking at it from a point of getting the work done, maybe making money in the sense too, it can kind of go a lot further to surround yourself with those smarter, maybe a little bit more hardworking people to hopefully get you to that point that you'd like to be and that level of success, we can say, that you'd like to obtain.
I approach it like a kind of we'll call it a soft rule, like a suggestion to myself was to have like a maximum of one close friend in a group for school projects. Cause like I'm there to learn and get better and get smarter. And one of the best ways to kind of like learn about new ways of thinking, or let's say like, learn about new ways of thinking is like to put yourself in groups with people that are smarter than you or smarter at a different thing than you. Mm-hmm. So like if you're in kind of like a core curriculum class, like any of those general eds in college or whatever, picking like if you're in your major and surrounded with engineers all day, go find other majors to work with in those classes. That's the whole point of being in classes with outside your major too, is so that you can kind of understand how like other people look at things. And one other downside about always being with your friends is like it's a lot harder to be accountable. Like if your friends know you, so like in my situation, my friends know that if it's like the last day before something's due and they haven't done anything, I'm just gonna do it because I want it to get done for myself. Accountability is just harder because like you don't want to ask your friends like to get something done. It's just like not a conversation you like having with your friends. So you can take yourself out of that situation right away. And sometimes I think that's an easier approach, plus the other benefits that come with meeting new people and understanding different ways of thinking.
Yeah, and I think that going off of that, we can kind of talk about effective communication, communicating effectively. And with that, really, we kind of touched on some of the responsibilities that entails. So, if you are working on a project, there is kind of a certain expectation that you will be checking in maybe once a week or in a month time. You'll be meeting up with a few other team members, and so that'll come out to like 4 times. So there will be a few times where those your communication is almost required of you, but it's also good just to, on a personal note, sometimes just say what's going on in the day to day, because that can kind of clear up any confusion that may arise if you aren't putting your best effort forth because it's not your best day.
Totally.
And that's perfectly okay, because you can't always be working at 100. Sometimes you're going to be, you might be working at 80%, 75, or you might even be working at 100, even though it's statistically impossible, but whatever.
Conceptually.
Conceptually, yes. Physically, no. But however, you may feel like you're working at an exceeding point than what you normally do. But yeah. Scheduling your time accordingly, those regular check-ins, it's really important just to kind of convey what's going on, whether that be in your life or the work that you're doing. Keeps everyone off your back if you're letting them know what's going on.
Exactly. And one major part of effective communication, specifically in groups and teams that help kind of, it's like a little bit of glue that keeps the group together, or that can help keep the group together, is recognition and appreciation. So it's like part of effective communication, but it's just like taking the time to recognize like, oh, you did a really good job on that slide. Thank you for getting it done. And like, maybe if that's in front of the group, other people will, hear that and be like, oh, okay, I need to get my stuff done. Like, she just got some appreciation from, I don't know, someone else in the group. But people love to be recognized for the work they do. They love to be appreciated. Like, it's a lot. There's certain cases where you do things and don't expect any recognition or appreciation, but it doesn't mean you don't like recognition and appreciation. So when there's like, it's available, people will not deny it. They won't say, I don't want to be appreciated for this. It's like, sometimes you do things that you're not expecting it, but if you do get it, it feels really good. And so a way to kind of boost morale or keep everyone engaged in the group is taking a role of like, I'm just going to take a little bit of time to show everyone that like they're doing a good job on these things. And it just helps kind of keep the group together and keep morale high and like keep everyone engaged, because you really want everyone in the group to be engaged at the specific task. Otherwise, you or your group members might end up having to do extra work if someone's not engaged.
Definitely. All right. We go on to episode 7. My good friend, Nick Rubino. So we brought Nick on. He was just a recent graduate at the time. I'd been working a little bit for a company. He's an engineer. With him, it was interesting because he was kind of our first like look at being a student athlete, and also student athlete, as the name says. So with him, he kind of touched on the whole kind of time management and kind of some of the things that he did and what he found success in. And for that, it kind of came with, he would schedule his day-to-day. He had to commute to and from work, and then certain days he would be working from home. And so with that, he would then schedule in going to this gym based on where he was at, or going to this gym because he was working from home, and kind of just easing his day-to-day. Or another thing would be he would then kind of prep his outfits. He'd make his lunch the day before. So then in the morning, rather than starting off your day on a sour note, because I think he said because the bread's still frozen, it's all ready for you. You can save a little bit extra time, sleep in for 10 minutes more, 15 minutes more, however much be, and, start your day off on a positive note. So I think those were kind of some interesting things that he brought up. And also at the same time, kind of, the whole leadership aspect of things. He was a lacrosse captain, and even in the time that I had known him back in high school, he was one of the captains on our high school team and such. So he, and through that, he kind of talked about passing on things to some of his younger teammates, some of his own struggles, how he kind of managed his time and found his own success. And I mean, I applaud him. He got through. He's a mechanical engineer. He played 4 years of college sports, and he still graduated on time. So that's no small feat. So I think for some of those, and in the future, we hope to get a few more athletes on and kind of talk about what their day to day was like for some of the listeners that may be of more interest, or that kind of more directly applies to your own lives. So if that's something you have some interest for, maybe shoot us an email, let us know, give us a little feedback on that.
Yeah. I think that another thing that I take from Nick's episode is like all of the things you described is like planning ahead, like creating a good plan, or like taking 10 minutes to plan out your week, or like where you're going to be, how you can make your schedule more efficient, is something that for Nick at least, and most people that plan ahead, really reduces like the amount of stress actually endured during the week doing all of those things. Like if you have a clear plan, you're going into the week with a clear head, you can, everything's just a little easier and a little bit more efficient. Not to say that all the things Nick's doing are easy, because they're not, but it's certainly not harder if you plan ahead of time.
Yeah.
So that's cool about Nick. He also talked about like recruitment for the current position he's in, and like when he started building relationships to get the job that he has right now, and when he applied, when he started looking, and all of those different things. So yeah, really cool episode. And I wouldn't have met Nick if it wasn't for this show. But also kudos to Nick for, in his own life, taking the time to share his experiences and share what he's learned with the younger generation. I think that's super important, and me and Alex are obviously huge fans.
Yes. All right. Well, I took a lot of time on the other one, so I think you should maybe get a little bit more of a spotlight on this. So let's jump into episode 8. That was with Hannah Gettman.
Episode 8,
was a great episode, right? Yeah. I didn't miss one. Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good.
You want to touch a little bit more on that one?
Yeah, I have to give a quick shout out to Hannah, because she is our most listened to episode to date. So we're reflecting on our last 10. Hannah's episode is the most listened to, so highly recommend going back to check this one out. But basically, Hannah is insanely driven and takes advantage of like every opportunity that's in front of her, very focused on her goals. I went to high school with Hannah, so that's how we originally met, but then she moved to Abu Dhabi her senior year of high school and spent a lot of time living abroad, and then came back to study merger and acquisitions consulting in the future. So much to share. It's hard to summarize, but I think that one of the main takeaways was the value of meeting new people and different types of people and different ways of thinking. Like one thing Hannah said that really resonated with me was that a lot of people are very quick to, and mind you, Hannah's a junior in college. Okay. So these words are coming out of a junior in college. So, and like, we're impressed, and we're like 2 years older, but Hannah said that a lot of people are drawn to have a conversation or ask a question to the person that feels most comfortable next to you. Like if I'm like, oh, I don't know how to figure this out, I instantly turn to the person that I'm most comfortable with and ask that question. But she said something that can like really expand your horizons and allow you to meet more people and introduce you to new ways of thinking is like turning to the person that's not as comfortable. Maybe you don't know them. Maybe they didn't grow up like you. Maybe they don't look like you. Whatever it is, trying to sometimes take a second and be like, I'm going to go to someone that makes me like that I'm not as comfortable with. It's not like, don't turn to the person that like literally makes you uncomfortable. Like you don't have to go to that type of person, but it's like, the point is, meet new people, like try somebody new for an answer to your question, or try somebody new to say hello to that day, or try somebody new to say like, how's the weather today? Like, oh, sucks that the traffic sucked this morning. Like say that to not the same person that you say it to every other day. So that's just like a huge takeaway that I had from that episode, and try like, first of all, impressive like understanding of just how communication and relationships work, but also something super valuable. Like it's just a little extra thing you can do or reflect on in your communication.
Yeah, definitely. That was a great episode. And as you were saying earlier, saw how to take advantage of opportunities and just really experience new things and how important that is. And that's just such a great thing for the listeners at home.
I'm laughing because I literally took what you said. You're like, I spend a lot of time talking about Nick, so
Yeah.
why don't you go ahead and do it with Hannah? And I literally like went off on Hannah.
No, I know. And with that, I think we should talk about Owen.
All right, episode number 9. We're breezing through this.
Yeah, we're
breezing through this. So we had Owen Kottenbrocker on, and we called the episode "Small Wins, Big Results" because there's a common theme throughout the episode. Like Owen consistently talked about how important it is to focus on small wins or set attainable goals for yourself. And I guess we should introduce Owen. Owen is a online fitness coach and by night, and with his own kind of personal business, and he is in a sales role by day. So Owen's got the entrepreneurship and, you know, is finding success in his day job as well. But anyways, setting attainable goals for yourself, because if you set too big of goals, it's not always a bad thing to set really big goals, but you want to have enough goals that are actually achievable in your mix so that you don't, I don't know how to say unmotivate. Is that a word? Do the opposite of motivating yourself.
Demotivate.
Like, yeah, whatever the word is, dissuade yourself from like thinking you can do it. So you can build up proof of concept for yourself through like small goals, small wins, and then those goals can grow over time. But it's important to like any new habit you're building, any new thing you're doing. A common thing is like healthy eating and in the gym because of Owen's background. But setting smaller goals for yourself instead of doing a 180 right when you're trying to do a habit or build a new habit. And you can't, at the same time, you can't build like 8 new habits at the same time. So focusing in on smaller attainable goals helps find success in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. And I think another important thing and this would relate to academics and I mean, I guess overall, but it was forming good relationships with your professors and those who are taking the time out to share their own work, their own struggles, whatever it may be, and kind of take what they have to say and use that and translate that into your own life. And I think that really stems from he talked about his mentor.
Yeah, he was introduced to the director of the sales program at Marquette and at his school, and stayed in touch and shot ideas back and forth and kept talking, and they kept building the relationship, and that relationship literally set the foundation for what he does today. Yeah. So he got involved in the sales program, started coming to events and meetings and learning about sales, and ultimately like that interaction set him on the path that he's actually executing today. So the point is like your professors give you a really good idea of what somebody in a certain subject or career field are like. They know a lot about that career field or subject because they study it and they teach it. So having good relationships with your professors can open doors you didn't even know were there to be opened. Sometimes it's people they know. Sometimes it's information you didn't have before. Sometimes it's online resources that you didn't know existed, or, you know, whatever else it could be. But it's super important, whether in high school or college, to take the time to get to know your professors. And maybe, especially in high school, probably, I'm not going to make any outrageous claims here, you can probably boost your grade by like 5. You know, when you go ask for that roundup at the end of the semester, if you have a good relationship with them, what do you know? They're going to be like, Alex, you know what? You put in a lot of effort. A- to an A.
Yep.
I don't know if you're going to go C to an A. I'm not going to promise that, but
you'll get a little bit back.
Those little 2% roundups or something. Those are, like we talked about earlier with LinkedIn. You can either guarantee you're not going to get a job through LinkedIn, or you can have the opportunity to. So you're either going to guarantee no roundup at the end of your semester by having no relationship with your professor, or you're going to put the opportunity on the table.
Yes.
And putting those opportunities on the table is always worth it, almost in every case.
100%. I agree with you. All right.
They're getting a little, the listeners at home are getting a little extra here.
I think this is cool.
I like it.
It gives it a little, lets us still to add in some extra stuff as at the same time. But I think this recap's cool. I think we might have to keep doing it in the future.
I'm excited about it. I think it's been fun. We got one more episode. This is a recent one.
Alec Jarmaine, right? That was it? Jarmaine?
Yep.
TikTok Ventures and Getting Involved. That was the title of this episode.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I think one major takeaway with this one is just that you can start a business. I'm going to, in quotes, at any age. Obviously, there are certain businesses
like a 5-year-old can't start a business.
I mean, I guess you can have a lemonade stand and there's a degree to the businesses that you can start.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You may not be able to make, probably could actually. I don't really think there are too many limitations, but however, there's any age at which you can start a business. So we kind of saw this with Alec. He saw an opportunity through social media, which was inflatable rentals at the time. And he wasn't even in college yet, I believe. Am I remembering that correctly?
First year. Inflatable rentals were in college. Yeah. He did the disc golf.
That's what it was. Sorry.
In high school.
Two ideas. He saw
2 businesses.
I'll let you talk on the disc golf then. I'll just keep the inflatables. Sorry. This was a year into school that he had seen the inflatable rentals. And he had a little bit extra time on his hands. And he saw that the opportunity was there and he took it. And I think it's pretty... we gotta give him some credit for doing it. He still projected growth. He also was able to learn kind of what was it? Estimated before earnings. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and something else. Which is crazy because after that episode, granted, I did look up what that was, but after that, I swore I saw about 10 different things that were all about that, and that was something I'd never seen before.
It's a buzzword, and it's really cool if you can talk about what EBITDA is when you're a sophomore. Like right. Alec is a sophomore, and he joined us from London. We didn't say that Hannah Gettman was also in London, but speaking of, like, another thing Alec does is take advantage of opportunities. He's in London right now studying abroad. He is super involved in school, and like, whether it's this student-led ventures, like business venture kind of program at his school, or whether it's like getting involved with the basketball team or being a TA or whatever, he's in a chess club too, or was for a while. So, and Alec just touches on how many connections and people he met through being involved and why he felt like it was super important to be involved. And one of the main things he said is like, there's literally, especially in college, like 0 risk in trying something new. If you don't like it, that's your takeaway. I don't like something like that. Good to know now. Or if you do like it, then you can learn a lot doing it. So there's a takeaway in everything.
Yes.
And sometimes you just got to go for it. You just got to get involved. You just got to do it.
I think that was the big thing, is that there was a takeaway from everything. And you really need to sometimes take a second and reflect and look for those things that are standing out, that should be standing out. And going from that, another big thing that he kind of talked about was, and we also think it's a great idea, is utilizing and living by your calendar. And if you have a lot of extracurriculars happening or just a lot of work in general, it's important to kind of structure your day and set aside some time blocks and when you're going to get this done. And even if you don't get it done, but you set that time aside and you do something else in that time, that's still a win if that's just something else that's knocked off of your plate for the day. But it's important to know what's happening and when it's happening, because you never know if you'll oversleep or you'll forget to overbook or something along those lines. And that could really be a make or break, depending on the situation and whatever you had booked at that time. So,
yeah. Alec, basically, one thing that, you don't always have to like live and die by your calendar, but when you have as much going on as Alec does, it doesn't hurt to schedule things. And it's a common theme, like time management, between all of the people that we've talked about on the show. But one thing he mentioned to me is like, I I did schedule like in college time for homework, like,
Mm-hmm.
on Fridays before my noon class, I'll be ready to start homework and do some from 9:30 to or whatever. But he talked about breaking that down a little bit farther into like the first hour I'm working on this project and the second hour I'm working on this project. So then, like, for me, the problem that solved in hindsight for me is like I would be ready to do homework and then I'd bounce between, different projects and not really fully focus in on one. And if you really just take time to fully focus in on one, sometimes you'll be a lot more efficient than you thought, and you could actually get it done in that amount of time.
Yeah.
Then move on to the next and clear your brain of like all the other things you have to do and like focus in on that one thing that you scheduled time to get done.
Yeah. I think in that episode too, I made the point, if you think about a 10-minute task for 10 minutes, it'll take you 20 minutes. I think that was it.
That's,
or was that
you
the
made
one
that point in
before?
Owen's episode.
Owen's before. Yeah.
Yeah.
But similar premise to that. I feel like it kind of works.
Totally.
Works in a similar way.
Yeah.
All right. Lastly, sorry, I just focused out for there. Sorry, it got a little dark here. But I think the last thing, and this is kind of a theme with even us at Project Rookie, is just go for it. You kind of, to take the opportunity and to take the risk. There's no better time than now when there is, I guess you could say, a little less to lose. You're not as deep into a career, or won't be as hard to maybe turn around and then start something else and start at that base line again. For many of us, and for even Jett and I, we are still, only a year or not even a year into the workforce, or only 3 years in, and don't let that dissuade you from thinking you can't start something or go and pursue something, because you don't necessarily have to go and quit your job and put 100% of your effort towards it. But kind of how we started the Project Rookie in itself, we made the time, we started to put as much time here and there, and eventually it snowballed into we finally recording episodes, and then we were finally getting guests on, and without us just saying let's just go for it one day, we might not be where we're at right now. We might not be doing this recap episode. So if that's any test to just going for it, then I hope that's a little bit of an inspiration to hopefully get you motivated and get you started on the path that you want to carve out for yourself and to achieve.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you ended with that, because like I'm just reflecting now. Like I started a business when I was in high school, but it's totally a practice business, because if I messed up something, there's like no risk. I'm like, oh, I messed up your lawn. I was a lawn service company. Like, oh, I messed up your lawn. I'm just a kid. Whoops. Like I'll learn for next time. Like I get feedback and then learn, and I understand how to deal with customers. And like all of those things are like kind of okay. I'm not saying like slack off, but it's more okay than right now. Like even with this podcast, Alex and I, like my boss can watch this podcast, and if I say something crazy or like completely embarrass myself, that follows me to work.
Yeah.
There's risk. Your level of risk with everything you do just constantly increases as you get older. So the point is, like, if you can get exposure to these like opportunities and learn things and mess up, the younger you are when you mess up, the easier it is to recover. Like you can learn and recover and move on. Don't mess up and not learn from it, but there's just less risk. It's less stressful to mess up. And so it's super valuable to kind of get some of those learnings or like failures out of the way, because when I fail right now, it feels like there's a lot more implication. Like I'm still not scared to fail, but at the same time, there's a lot more people that are affected when I fail than there were when I was in high school.
Yeah.
100%. So same for everyone that gets older.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to wrap it up.
I think that was perfect. I mean, it's the last point, and it kind of works with where we're at with the show. And I mean, like we touched upon this earlier, but this was pretty fun. I think it was cool to kind of go back and see what we could remember, and what we also could come up with, some new stuff that we could come up with that maybe wasn't incorporated into those topics to start. And I think this was really cool. Maybe the viewers might not like it, but maybe some will. But if that's the case,
they will.
It's all right.
I'm optimistic.
If that's the case, because if you don't like this episode, tune in next week you'll get it. Tune in for the next episode then, because we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah. One other thing after this episode, I feel like it's a good time, but we kind of just went over 10 kind of topics or main ideas that we covered across the first 10 episodes of Project Rookie. And we have ideas that we think are valuable of things that the younger generation is struggling with, or people our own age are struggling with, just hearing in conversation. And like even the things that we struggle with in our daily lives, we can talk about those things. But if there are real struggles or real challenges you're having in high school or college or your first job, let us know. You can DM us on social media, Project X Rookie on Instagram and X, and we can keep you totally anonymous if that's what you like. Just let us know. The people that have learned from those experiences already or have lived through those experiences already, bring them on and we'll talk about that topic. So point is, if you have topics you're struggling with or you want to hear more about, or even like, I want to know what someone else in that became a teacher is doing right now, like we'll find you a teacher. We can get you those resources and put them on the show, because if you have that question, there's probably someone else exactly like you that has that question too, and that's our whole goal. So feed us some topics, please.
And remember, just go for it.
Exactly, just go for it. I just went for that one, like begging you for topics.
That's too
all right
funny.
We'll catch you next time. I think that's the pod.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, and that's the pod. If you enjoyed the show, it'd mean the world for you to leave us a review and share it with your friends. Make sure to follow our podcast on your favorite listening platform. And if you're joining us on YouTube, definitely hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our new episodes. Also, check us out on social media. We're at Project X Rookie on both Instagram and X. We'd love to chat with you in the comments or in our DMs. Thank you for listening, and as always, I hope we're helping you take control of what's next. Catch you next time.